Welcome to the Land, your bet sports betting show live stream, as we do each and every day here on the YouTubes and on the Twitters. And we get it going at 5:30 p.m. Eastern. So we're still on time today. We're going to get right into a few bets that I have, bets that I already made last night. Make sure you are subscribed to that page because I put out a video the night before, sometimes early morning on the day of. Last night I got it out pretty early. Got some good value on a few bets, 2-player props and 2 lines that I believe I already have some EV on. So we're going to keep going with those videos. You want to get those early so you can get those lines. Some stuff's probably gone at this point, I would say. What's good, MB8? What's good, Sam Marshall? Sulek Strength. What's good? That's what we're doing here. Let's look real quick at the bets that I already made and then throw that stuff in the comments. Like I always tell y'all, get in the comments and let me know what you guys are betting and let me know what you want to look at together, and we'll go through it. I'll share my screen here in a minute. But I have a couple things I want to show you. Something I didn't show you in the video last night that I have right here is a couple of things that I keep telling y'all about. That's like, what am I looking at to start, right? Sometimes it can be a little bit difficult to figure out where to start. And that's when you take some notes, right? That's when it comes in handy to have some notes down already about the teams that you're looking at and some of these matchups, right? And then that can help you look at who's doing what against this defense. Maybe the defense, and it's usually defense that I start with, and I'll show you what I mean in a second. But a couple of things just as an example, right? And I'll start showing you more of these types of graphics at the start, so we at least know like where are we starting from, because it's kind of like you have a blank piece of paper in front of you, and you're supposed to start writing stuff out. Like that's the hardest part, right? Is getting going. So to get it going, I have a bunch of notes that I keep about each team that I try to keep. And then if they're relevant to the matchup, then I'm going to go ahead and use those notes to my benefit, right? So for this Brooklyn and New Orleans matchup, the thing here is I could easily see this becoming another blowout. We just saw the Nets get blown out by this Pelly's team. Now the Nets are back at home, so it might be a little bit different case for them. They're a little bit better there, but they're still going to be probably not a great matchup for this squad. You look at just a couple of things I'm looking at, right? And I'll have more of this stuff moving forward, but bottom 2 defenses versus ISO, or they are a bottom 2 defense versus ISO plays, and they limit assists because they don't double team. It's similar notes to what we have for the Indiana Pacers. They also don't double team, and as a result, they don't give up a lot of assists, but they will give up points to players who are good in the ISO, maybe coming off the pick and roll, that kind of thing. Because if you come off the pick and roll, you don't get doubled, you're in a good, better position to score. For the Pellies, they do run a ton of ISO. They score the 5th most points per possession off of ISO, and they score the 8th most points per game off of ISO. And you see Zion is the dude who's doing that more than anybody. He's running that play in terms of isolation twice as much as anybody else on his team, which would be Brandon Ingram next, right? So let's throw a couple of things in there. What's good, y'all? I see you in here, J-Neck. Freestyle says, I'm feeling that NBA, definitely looking for FEV assists. I feel that. Is that what you talk about, FEV dimes? Yep, I'm with you on that, NBA. We can look at that in a minute. I'll start putting some of that together. Let me just make sure you all saw the earlier bets that I put together on the card. Also, quick shout out to everybody in here. Let me point out these bets that people in the live stream are the one who brought to my attention so we could get it going. I'll start. Let's go in order here. De'Aaron Fox, that was the first one there on the left, and Jalen Johnson, 2 different bets that were brought to me. We looked at it before we got off the show. I became in love with the Jalen Johnson bet. I wish I put a full unit on it, and I actually even love the De'Aaron Fox bet even more, as you saw that cash in the first half. I love a good first half cash with him getting 11 rebounds and assists combined in the first half of that game, which came down to the wire as much as we thought it might. B-Pod, I went with myself, but DeJounte Murray, we got him over 8.5 assists. That was brought to my attention. I put a half a unit on that to get plus 118. And then those were the 3 main ones right there, right? Those 3, DJM, De'Aaron Fox, and Jalen Johnson. I incorrectly did not take Josh Hart with y'all. A bunch of people are on that. Our boy triple-doubled last night as the Knicks did win that game, which was something I had on my card. But the 4 bets that didn't hit, we missed a little bit of the baby ladder with Hartenstein and Buddy. I don't know if y'all have seen Buddy, but I think we're good on Buddy. I don't know. I was like, why isn't he getting minutes? And then I watched him chuck up some nonsense in that game yesterday at the end when they really needed possessions. And he got the quick hook from Nick Nurse in the fourth quarter. And it was like, right. That's why you don't bet on Buddy Hield to get minutes, because he's going to do some dumbheaded stuff. You know that. DeMar DeRozan, a couple of y'all called out how it was like it's a close game. You expect Portland to hang around. So why are you taking DeMar to go under? And that was a good point, and that's what materialized. And so me a couple on that. If anybody tailed the DeMar DeRozan bet, I should have listened to you guys who were talking about how this is going to be a close game. Then why wouldn't DeMar get points in the 4th? And that was my take on the game, was Portland was going to keep it close, yet DeMar was going to go under. I feel that as sort of negative correlation there. And then Kuminga did us wrong, and Trace Jackson Davis got all those minutes. That was also brought to me at the end. I liked it, and it looked great. He had 12 at halftime. He needed 6 more points, and then he had 16 going into the 4th and couldn't get any minutes because TJD, I guess the Rook, was who they wanted to go with in that game for Golden State, where they got handled, I would say, by the Knicks. Like that thing wasn't even close. I don't think we think that. So still looking on the season overall. This is since before some of y'all probably started following, but 35.7 on the player props. That's what we continue to do. The sides and totals, bro, we were bad for a minute and we climbed all the way back up to about -1.5 units there after being down about 10.5. So we're feeling good about that. A couple of the bets that I had, in case you guys missed it, we got Jalen Green, or not Jalen Green. He's just the pick here. I didn't go with him yet. We'll look at him. I know we're going to look at some Rockets Wizards stuff because there's usually some pretty good value to be had against the Wizards. If anybody drives to the basket at all or goes in transition, then they're probably going to be able to score against this Wizards team, especially with everybody out. So we're about to run out a G League squad here in Washington where we're going to see dudes that a lot of you probably haven't heard of. And I talked about that in the video. Kyle Kuzma is still questionable. Let me know if anybody, I always appreciate how everybody stays on top of these injury reports while I'm doing this too, so I can see what's up. If you see anything about a bunch of these major injuries, including Kyle Kuzma, who's the only he's listed out. All right, I'm already on the injury report over here. Kuz is out. So what we're talking about for this squad, who is out now? We're talking about Kyle Kuzma. We're talking about Koulibaly. We're talking about Avdia. We're talking about Tyus Jones. Forgive me if I'm missing somebody else. Marvin Bagley's out as well. I'll pull up the injury report. It's nasty. So they're not playing anybody. I know that this feels trappy. We might not be able to get this at 7.5. That's another benefit of looking at the videos the night before. If you're not subscribed yet, much appreciated. I would get on that. It's at 10.5 now. I mean, that makes sense, bro. I took this early, so this is early stuff. The Hornets and the Magic, I don't think that total probably rised very much. So yeah, it's still it's, if anything, you can probably get this at 107.5 for the Magic team total at this point. And then I took Gafford early. I don't think his prop moved much because I'm just going right back to the well in terms of like a terrible defense against centers and dudes who run to the rim, which is all Gafford's going to do. Only reason he didn't go over last time. He still had 8 when we needed him to get 11. Derek Lively took about 12 or 14 of those points from him because because Gafford got fouls in the first quarter. That's not something San Antonio does in terms of eliciting fouls from the other team. So I'm not worried about Gafford's minutes getting into foul trouble there. I am just looking at him to continue to catch those lobs from Luka, who's going to be playing in this game. So Micic, I took an over. It was a little bit of a sucker bet. This is something that I was talking about last night with the books, is where like when they've set a line, as soon as this came out, it was even money, 12.5 points. Why are they giving us such good juice to go over in this bet when they just set the line? Why would they give us such good juice when they just set the line? When they just set the line, they're going to put it at like -110, -115, right? So that they can sort of not lose too much money on the VIG there. They're going to make as much as they can back to keep it even. So -115 is a bet that you'd normally see for an opening prop. This was even money. I still took the over at 0.5 point because I still couldn't get away from the matchup. Orlando is only weak in one area on the floor, and it's, are you the ball handler in the pick and roll? And are you the dude shooting from above the break, or are you stepping in, taking a mid-range? That's what Micic does. So we're going back to him to go over 12.5. I put a half a unit on it because I do feel like a sucker, but it probably is been bet up a little bit. And so that was my thinking, is if people are going to see that even money and bet it up and hitting the over, then I'll go ahead and take the over early and get that value on it. And lastly, I'm taking Zion. I want to look at his points, but I got him for the rebounds. I thought this was a good call by my boy Nate. And where we were talking about Zion to get over 7.5 or plus money. Brooklyn's going to be jump shooting all over the place. Like I said, I would not be the least bit surprised to see them get smacked again in this game. What's still 7.5, and it only went up from about 6. It does feel a bit trappy just when you think Brooklyn's going to go down, then they start winning some stuff. But that's where we're at. So I got the Zion rebounds. I got the Micic over for points. I got Gafford over PR for the points and rebounds. I already hit that Orlando team total. They score at home. That's what they do. So if you get 107.5, they've actually done that in 9 of their last 10. And then the Houston at Washington game, like it's at 10.5 points at this point. I mean, you can take that and money line parlay it. You can. I cannot see how they would lose this game. Jordan Poole is gonna have to score like 50, right? So I'm actually looking at potentially talking about Jordan Poole under like 30.5 points, rebounds, and assists. I don't know if this game is going to stay close very much at all, and I would expect the to turn ugly pretty quick. So let me get the upcoming props here for you so we can look at those together real quick. So I had somebody talk about FVV was the first one. FVV assists. Let's look at that, and then let's look at. Let me get a couple more here. Throw them in so I don't want to miss anything. Wemby first quarter rebounds over 2.5. We can look at Wemby. I definitely want to look at him anyway. Let's look at Wemby stuff. The first quarter stuff, you got to have like a little bit more specific data for that, right? But either way, Wemby will go. We'll look at his boards. I know his points. We'll look at that all Wemby stuff in a sec. And then let me see what we got here. We got Yep, free sauce. We talk about Gafford. Yeah, over 10.5 points. That's the play for him. Zion rebounds dropped to 6.5. So even with that plus money that you could have gone for the over, looks like we lost a little bit. Thanks for that A16 Morados. Let me know that. The Pellies in the first half. We can look at Pellies too. Schroeder assists. Yes, I was looking at Schroeder assists. I was looking at the way that Brooklyn doesn't give up assists themselves. I was looking at Zion under. I think we probably lost some juice on that. It was 5.5 last night. Might even be down to 4.5 right now. But let's look at Schroeder assists. And then let me get a couple more in here before we start looking at a couple of these. Kuzma is out. Yeah, appreciate that. So yeah, Kuzma's out. Yeah, look at Jordan Poole turnovers. Let's look at Jordan Poole either way for sure. Like Jordan Poole is the gift that keeps on giving sometimes, at least for entertainment purposes. Let's look at assists / turnovers. The thing is like we only have like one game, maybe two now with Tyus Jones not playing, and we need to know what that. I need a little bit more of a sample size to look at that. Yeah, Denver under, that would be the play for sure. Like Denver kind of stopped seeming to care on offense very much at all. So that would be where I would lean with Denver unders. Talking about from J-Neck over there. And then Trey Jones, PRA, we can look at that. No, I got you, James Arnold. We'll look at that. And then full court's going to come with some stuff too. Do I mind 9.5 for the Rockets crack Sparrow? I mean, this thing should be a 16-point blowout, shouldn't it? So, like, no, I don't. If some G League dudes come out, and like, let's look at who we reasonably think is going to get minutes in this game for Washington. Have any of y'all heard of Patrick Baldwin Jr.? Because I'm pretty confident he's going to be getting some minutes. That was a dude who was drafted by the Dubs, and they quickly were like, oh no, we messed up another draft because we can't draft apparently. Let's look at this Wizards squad real quick, and I'll start sharing real quick too. Everybody except for Jordan Poole that would be considered a starter is out. We're going to be looking at some Jared Butler and Justin Champagny and Corey Kispert and Rashawn Holmes. So that's going to be the starting lineup here. So, like, I guess Corey Kispert goes ballistic. That's another way we lose. But come on, man. Not like the Rockets have been nice. I know that they've been playing doo-doo competition, but that's what they're facing tonight is doo-doo competition. 9.5, I'll still hit it under 10. Yeah, I would just say yes, honestly. All right, let me get this to this card real quick. I know full court got some right in here. Kyrie's under because of Ramadan. Yeah, I know he's been doing well no matter what. He just played 40 last night, though. That's a good point. Washington under team total. That's basically what I'm saying. If you want to take them at 9.5, you're basically saying under the team total would be a good play as well. So I don't mind any of that stuff for the sides. Let's look at what we have on the card real quick. So we're going to look at FVV, then Wemby, Schroeder, and Jay Poole, and we'll go right into that. Honestly, we'll do that because my boy got in here first. So let's talk about FVV on Houston. Let me share this screen up, and we'll go from there. But yeah, I mean, it's sad what's happening in Washington. You can't tell me that all those dudes are hurt. I do not believe it if that's what you're telling me. Looking at FVV. All right, let's bring this to the stage and get our boy out of here. All right. And Jalen Green, I mean, I got him on my list of things to look at too. But if you guys have more, keep throwing it in there. I'll make sure I get to the couple of things I want to look at before we dip. So let's start with Houston and Washington, and then we can go. Let's actually go to Jordan Poole right after we look at FVV. The thing about this game, bro, and taking overs for the Rockets is just simply, is this game going to be close enough for them to even be in this game? Now, FEV in this last one played, we'll call him Fred. Fred played 37 minutes. They were up by 40. What is the NBA doing? You see these dudes still in the game in the fourth quarter up by 30. Like, people are going to get hurt. It's not even just a Tom Thibodeau problem. Apparently, Ime will grind you into the dust too. Ime doesn't care how much you play. Head coaching out there in Houston. For Fred, he's been doing this, obviously, and let me just start with, is there any correlation to on StatMuse? This is the best one that I have here for making sure that you can just get simple, quick stuff like with and without stuff. If you want to see how this dude does without this dude, blah, blah, blah. So let's do Fred Van Vliet with and without Alperen Şengün this season. I'm sure he's got a few more assists, but he's only played those 3 games, right? So we got 3 games to say that he basically got almost 3 more assists per game. I know they're playing dog crap, including Washington, who gives up assists. We don't need to know. They give up everything to everybody, but they give up assists and points to point guards. Let's look at Fred's his tracking and his passing real quick. And let's look at the last 3 games so we can get him without Şengün in there. And we look at the Houston Rockets for Fred. I'm sure it's at like 15 or 16, right? 17. Yeah. So 17 potential assists to get 9. I mean, if he gets the minutes, is it 8.5? Yeah, and it's oh no, it's 9.5 unless you could still get minus because this is a good disparity right here. If you look at the 8.5 on FanDuel, this is a wrong MGM line. Obviously, this is probably like plus 150 for the thing. The MGM is having problems being pulled through by this prop stock cash site. It's not the first time, but yeah, let's look at Fred, and I mean everything he does against this team is going to be something that they suck at defending. If we go over to Courtside Pal, I've been talking to the dude from Courtside Pal, also a really good dude, and I was asking him a little bit more about scoring and shooting. But just to be clear, like your shooting profile on courtsidepal.com, and that is in the description of the videos. If the shooting profile is just how bad are they against dudes from where they shoot from, how bad are they against dudes from where they score from. So it's really weighting the fact that, like, if you take, for instance, Trey Mann just as an example, where he shoots from the most isn't going to be the same as where he scores from the most, right? He might score at a higher percentage right around the basket than he does when he shoots from deep. That's taken into account here. So it's really just about the player type and profile of where he's shooting versus where he's scoring, which still makes sense. So let me look at Fred, and we'll go over to his playmaking. We go down here to the player versus defense, team ranks versus player type, and we look at assists and playmaker. And actually looks at that with Washington. They actually aren't that bad at limiting assists. 20th. So they're giving up the 10th or 11th fewest assists to Fred's playmaking type. But let's just look at the way that FanDuel Fantasy Pros has it listed on when it comes to just playing point guards. And like Fred is a point guard for sure. I have no problem with labeling Fred a point guard. We look at Washington. Okay, so they aren't that bad. I mean, still not great. Bottom 11 was at bottom 12 in terms of limiting. This is points. That's why I'm messing up. Let's look at assists. My bad. Assists on the season, they give up the third most. Yeah, so I mean, this is also going to be a little bit skewed in terms of the Fred stuff because the way that he plays and his playmaking type is going to be different than your normal point guard when you have a center like Alperen Şengün, who is such a playmaking center, right? So I'm going to take into account the point guard stuff before I really look at the courtside pal stuff. I didn't think I would tell you guys that, but that is something I would make clear. So for Fred, it's like it is a good bet, but this is, like I said, it's not a bad bet. It's not a bad number. It's just why would he be on the floor to get those dimes when he doesn't need to be? I mean, Aaron Holiday having props up when we know he's not starting tells you that there is the expectation that he's going to get minutes. In the last, he's only played 11 minutes in the last couple of games, and Fred's been getting all these minutes. It's just something I got to pass on. I'll be honest with you. I don't have enough to give me this feeling of like, because that's the other problem with this game is how do I know who do we say? Corey Kispert and a couple Jared Butler and Patrick Baldwin Jr. Like, I don't know how Richaun Holmes is going to do getting actual minutes in this game. So it's just a tough one for me with that Wizards one. I'd rather find a way to take unders, which is where we come into play, where we look at Jordan Poole. Let me update this though, because I am going to say it's just a pass for me. That's all it is. It's not like I think that's a stupid bet. It's just I don't have enough of an edge there that I feel to take it, and that's what it comes down to. Do you have an edge? I don't feel like I do, so I'm good on the Fred stuff. The Jordan Poole stuff is what I was looking at. It's like, but once again, I kind of need this to be a blowout. If you look at Jordan Poole in the games that he's played without Tyus Jones, so I'm going to come down here on props.cash, and I'm going to take without Tyus Jones right here. Used to be the best backup point guard in the league. Now maybe a top 15, 16 point guard in the league, for being honest. He's at 21.5 points, which I can't comfortably go under now. I mean, he played, what did he play against Houston? Tyus Jones played in that game. So this is without Tyus Jones. This season, he's only played twice. He played 22 minutes against Chicago, 23.5 against Boston. I think they got wiped by Boston, right? It doesn't let me double click on this anymore. But either way, for the field goal attempts, though, I mean, he took 19 shots against Boston in 23.5 minutes. That's a ridiculous usage rate, bro. Like that's Luka usage rate, right? That's stupid. So if he's going to take that many shots, it's not like he's going to, I don't think his player type is going to be really good at scoring against this Houston squad, where they're probably going to throw Dillon Brooks on him, whatever you want to do with that. Dillon Brooks, I mean, still somebody that fouls a lot, so it's not like he can't get to the free throw line. If you look at his scoring, yeah, I mean, Houston's, in terms of where he's shooting from, like, which is basically 3 and in, I mean, he shoots from wherever he wants. He's crazy. But if you look at Houston versus his shooting profile, it's better than Houston versus where he's actually scoring from. So the points could actually be there for him. I'm a little bit weary of just taking it under, but here we go with the turnovers. I mean, okay, so he's played twice without him. He's got 4 turnovers and 1 without Tyus, and the one against Boston, where he played really well against Boston, I guess is what we're saying here, because I mean, he still took a ton of shots, but he still had all those points. The 19 shots, how many did he make? 12 and 19 from the field is really good for a guard his size, especially. So, I mean, yeah, that 63% field goal percentage against Boston. I mean, that's got to be an anomaly. He just played really well against Boston. I don't have much for that, honestly. I get the over for his stuff, but yeah, it's tough. Let me let me pass on Jordan right now. Assists and turnovers. Like Houston definitely does not give up assists. I'm very confident in that. If we look at his playmaking stuff, Houston, yeah, third fewest assists. And I know this to be the case because some of my notes pregame about Houston are that they give up more points than they do assists to guards like Jordan Poole because Dylan Brooks will foul you, and they will foul you. They foul like the fourth most in the league, does Houston. So you can get to the free throw line if you attack, but they're not going to give up assists because they're going to foul you before you could even get the ball up, which means you can't get an assist on a foul, right? If making free throws doesn't get you the player who passed you the ball an assist. So that's why I'm just like, I would actually lean over on points for Jordan Poole. If he's going to take 19 freaking shots against a team that will give up some points to a player like him, especially if he gets to the free throw line, I don't know, bro. I can't take the over there. I can't take an under on his points, to be honest with you. Like I would go over first. No one else is going to shoot. It's going to be him and Corey Kispert. And Corey Kispert's not someone that's going to get up. I'm imagining that they're good against shooters as well and spot up dudes. If you go to Corey Kispert real quick, and which is shooter, Houston, yeah, because Houston doesn't give up a lot of threes. So yeah, they're going to be one of the better teams at limiting what he does too. So I mean, if you just take out Corey Kispert and Jordan Poole, which is a sentence I never thought that I would have to say, but if you take out those two dudes and don't let them get theirs, then you should be good to go. So I mean, that's why there's not enough of an edge for me here. The only other bet I was looking at real quick, and I do think I want to add Amin to the card for real. Now he's not getting a ton of field goals, but he's got 12 and 11 in the last two, and he's got to get 14 points on that amount of shots. I know a number of people that like him. It looks like it's gotten juiced up pretty bad. I mean, who knows if this MGM line is real? But the suffer for our guy here for Amin, I've been loving his game since I saw him in summer league in Vegas, and I was like, dude, he's better than all these other rookies out here. So yeah, I'm with that. Kispert is afraid of going off. Let me look at a couple of things here too. Luka triple double incoming. Mike could be. There's no reason that he wouldn't be looking. I think the rebounds and assists is a great play. It's at 35.5 points for Luka. We'll look at Luka real quick since I know we're going to look at Wemby too. So we'll put Luka in here. I think I'm passing on Poole right now, but I think I would say that Poole points is the play. I'll just say that. And then we got Luka in here. Let's look at PRA, but like for real, I think it's the rebounds and assists I prefer. Of course, he's going to probably drop 50, and I'll look stupid saying that. I would not going under. I'll tell you that. Let's look at a couple others here real quick too, though. Couple comments here. Yeah, Franz, I want to look at too. What's good, Nigel? Yeah, I was talking about Franz too. What's good, Sanchi? Franz and Zion. Yeah, we'll look at Franz and Zion points. Let me make sure I get that in here. Let's look at Franz, Wagner, and Zion points, because I already told you I got Zion rebounds. So Fred's a pass. Jordan Poole is also a pass. Oh, wait, get that up in here. When's a producer when you need one? And then, yeah, I'm just going to pass on Jay Poole for right now. Got to do it. Hate to do it, but I got to. And then we'll look at Zion when we look at Schroeder here. Let's put that together. Schroeder and Zion. And then, yeah, Franz Wagner points. All right, let's look at that real quick. So we save that. So we got let me just get to Wemby and Luka together right now and go from there. All right, let's look at that Dallas game. I don't have as much. I didn't look at that one yet as closely outside of Gafford. I will tell you, we got the Gafford bet in. If you want to go for just the points, I get it. I mean, San Antonio's gonna be terrible against everybody. Oh, this has gone up with the rebounds. That's what it is too. So the points are still 10.5. That is a good bet. The rebounds went up to, I mean, they're still, but I got this at 17.5. So yeah, I mean, it's okay. You could still probably get mostly 18.5 for the points and rebounds. I loved it at 17.5. You get better juice than I got though if you take the over here at 18.5. So that's not the bet that I have though. So let's look at our guy. Let's get to Wemby real quick. I mean, if you look at Wemby, simply put, the way he scored against his team last game, right? 26. It was like 23 minutes though. Well, 27 minutes. So 26 points, 27 minutes. Over the last 10, he's been up to where we at here with his minutes. Up over the last 10, we're looking at 36. Yeah, 32 a game, and he just played 36 against Brooklyn. I mean, if they care about this game, then they're going to have him in there, obviously. And they don't have a nasty injury report of any kind. We can see right here on the official one that's most recent. If you look at the Spurs, there's nobody that normally plays that'll be in there. Zach Collins is out. If anything, that just means more Wemby minutes, right? Has he played without Zach Collins this year, and has he had good minutes doing that? Let's look at without Zach Collins for Wemby. And I mean, he's gone over this 5 of 11 games without Zach Collins. He's averaging the 20, where we at here, 23 a game without Zach Collins, and he's at 23 and a half. But his minutes have probably gone up. Like, yeah, these are the early stages without Zach Collins. Recently without him, we're up to 29, 30, 30, 30, right? So, yeah, I mean, I think 30 minutes is a legit projection for him. 30 to 31 minutes is legit for Wemby tonight. If you look at his points per game, and this is something else that I think is really helpful. This is, I mean, I hate to make people do math, but if we just go to players real quick, let's just go to Wemby real quick. So if we go to Wemby right now, we see him at 20.8 points in 29 minutes, right? So, I mean, yeah, that's not going to be too many more points to get you to 24 if you average that out. And he still gets a couple more minutes in this. It still doesn't necessarily equal the points. But we could also do over the last like 15 games and see what that looks like for Wemby real quick. I'm just doing this as bare bones as possible, as you can see. 23 in 31 minutes. But that is about the ratio that he was already playing at when he was getting 29 minutes, right? You add a couple minutes, actually getting a few more points per minute. I don't have enough for Wemby's points. If you look at how he does against, and this is something I was already looking at, that's why I kind of know. I just don't, for real, is make me spell this whole damn thing out. Wembanyama. How many Wembans are there in the league? Come on. No, but he does a great job here. Of course, pal. Let's look at points and scoring, shooting for Wemby against a team like Dallas. Yeah, I mean, he's going to be a dude that can get his. And even when he played against Gafford, I believe he's got a game against Gafford on the Wafford. Wembanyama versus Gafford in that game that he played against. Yeah, I mean, against Washington, and he played against him against Dallas and still got his 22 and 11, 26 and 9. His boards are probably at least 10 and a half, if not 11, right? Yeah, 11 and a half. That's a little bit scarier for me to take over on 11 and a half. If anything, I'm playing the points, but it's such a high number, yo. Like, if this one is a blowout too, it doesn't necessarily mean he's not playing, but I don't have enough of an edge on Wemby either, to be honest. So I think I'm passing on Wemby. If anybody doesn't like what I'm saying here about Wemby, let me know, because you can tell my confidence isn't high, but that's also why I'm not playing with him. Maybe more Keldon usage without Collins is what Brian Andrews wants to say. Is there anything to that? Let's look at Keldon Johnson real quick. Keldon, I mean, yeah, because Keldon would come in and play down low a little bit. He definitely bangs a bit more. They do not have a power forward. That's why power forwards score so much against them too. Unfortunately, I couldn't advise a human being to bet on the power forward for the Dallas Mavericks right now. Like, I don't know if there's any Mavs fans in the chats. Do y'all miss Grant Williams? Like, I wouldn't, because of how annoying he is. But like, PJ is not it on offense right now. If he can't score alongside Luka, then what are we doing here? Let's look at. But otherwise, I would love to attack the power forwards playing the San Antonio Spurs. I can't do that with PJ. Looking at Keldon before we get into a couple other. I'm gonna look at Luka real quick. Keldon, where are you at, Keldon? Do they still not have him up because he doesn't start? Bruh. Okay, I'm just tripping. Whew, Keldon last game against Brooklyn ate him up. I didn't even see that. I just saw Nick Claxton not getting 12 points because Wemby missed like 5 buckets around the rim. Without Zach Collins for Keldon Johnson, not a direct correlation, right? Like, he's got a couple games where he went over, but it's really also at the beginning of the year when he was still getting a bit more in the way of minutes and attempts. Now we look at him coming off the bench a bit more. Maybe he does get the start, and that's the difference here without Zach Collins. But even against these other doo-doo teams in terms of Atlanta, well, Minnesota's not doo-doo, but Washington, I mean, what are the stuff without? Let's just do the last 10 for Keldon. I mean, he has been getting buckets. The 30, he's up to the 28 in the last, like, he's got good minutes here. You take out this 4-minute game versus Utah where he came out early, the 27 minutes versus Indy and Sac. Yeah, Keldon might be a legit play. How many shots is he taking? 12 shots. I mean, it's spiked a lot here. If you look at it without Zach Collins, though, it's not like it makes a difference. I don't have enough for a bet with Keldon, to be honest with you. I'll just do a quick look at him, and then I'm gonna look at Luka right quick. Luka is somebody that we definitely want to put in courtside pal, because he is not there's no position that you can put him at. I guess you put him at point guard, but how many 6'8" point guards that play out of the post that much do we see? Magic Johnson, Points for Keldon against this Dallas squad. Yeah, I mean, they're going to give it up. And then basically bottom 12, bottom 8 right here in terms of shooting profile and scoring profile. How has he done against this team? Head to head. She likes playing against them. Over twice this season I mean, he went over in 23 minutes of play where he got 16 points. This might be a legit play. I honestly, I wish I had more of a feel for what San Antonio does other than Wemby highlights. But it's tough to tell with the matchup the way that it is. Let me just look at who was guarding him last game, and then we'll move on to Luke, I swear. Look at the Spurs real quick. I'm going to go to their advanced box scores, and I'm going to look at the way that they played against Dallas last time by just filtering this to versus Dallas. So I can just get this box score right quick. And let's look at the last game right here and see who guarded Keldon when I don't know if he actually went over in this game. Did he go over in this one? Keldon, he came off the bench in this one. No, he had 3 points in 20 minutes. This was a blowout for Dallas. So everybody got in for San Antonio. Maybe this is not the best example. Let's try the ones where he went over real quick and see who guarded him. Jeez, they got smacked again. Like, what's to stop them from getting spanked once again? Honestly, like the letdown game after the Denver win, maybe that's the best I can come up with right here for why this would be a letdown game. Let's put Keldon Johnson, go to matchup. This is matchup data right here, which is based on tracking data. So if you want to ever find out who's actually guarding who, you can get that information here. It's not the most. There's other places that you get better data on that stuff, but let's look at Keldon on offense. Mostly because like you can see like this is primary defender. He's got Luka on him. That's probably a big reason that he's scoring. But they're also playing a little bit of a zone so that they can hide Luka down low. But he scored on Derek Jones. He scored on the only person he didn't score on was Dwight Powell. Went 1 for 6 against Dwight Powell. Took 6 shots against Dwight Powell though. I mean, yeah, I don't have enough for Keldon honestly to like comfortably tell you that I would bet on him because of not knowing enough about the Spurs. But I'm with the over there based on just trends and the fact that without Zach Collins, you expect him to get a bit more minutes. He's gotten more minutes over the last 10 overall. If you look at since basically let's look at the last 9, right? If you take out this 4 minutes right here, he's basically at like 30 minutes a game, as you can see between these numbers right here, right? So from Minnesota to Brooklyn, 30 minutes, 31 minutes with those in those games, like the 12 actually field goal attempts is skewed as well by this right here. If you actually look at it, if we were to look at it, a little bit more from the last 9, let's see real quick. Keldon Johnson last 9 games. Yeah, he's at 17.5 with the 13 field goal attempts. So got an extra shot in there too. I think Keldon's a pretty good bet. I really feel you on that. And the way that he scores, probably can get some offensive boards as well. Like I think that's a pretty good look. Let me look at Luka, and then I will look at Exum while we're in this game, and then I'll get to a couple other games real quick. Dallas versus SAS. Luka Doncic. Is he still at 33.5 points? How stupid is this? like who's gonna have a game log like this where he's like, I play 37.5 minutes. I take 25 shots a game. I take 25 shots a game. I shoot at a 50% clip. I take 4 threes. All right. I mean, he's cooled off at times on the threes, but what? This is 3-point makes, right? My bad. 3-point attempts. Where's his attempts at? I take 11 threes a game, bro. I get to the free throw line 7 times a game right here. Boy, it's cold. Yeah, what do you do with Luka? Assists versus, look at this, not getting assists versus this team. What is up with that, Luka? And he's gotten 10 like every damn time. So like, God bless you if you have the cojones to just go ahead and be like, nah, he's not getting 11. Look at, he's never hit it. Yeah, he's never hit it. He's hit 10, 10, 10, 9, and 8. And it's not 11. I get that. That's not 11. Let's look at assists last 10. Let's look at potential assists for our guy in this situation. I mean, but the point is made about Ramadan with Kyrie. So I get that as well. Let me add, I just had somebody that I want to make sure I get to. Jeremy Sohan. Oh man, Jeremy Sohan is not a player that I would ever recommend betting on either way. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, you want to talk about volatile. Jeremy Sohan is a volatile player to try to back or guess what the hell that man is going to do. Looking at assists, yeah, like I guess he's the point guard at times. It's gross. Oh, he's been boarding up. Good for him. And like, yeah, I mean, it's like 21 and then 4 and 9, 9. Like 13.5 sounds right. But like I got nothing for Saul, I'll be honest with you. The rebounds, though, like you were saying, it sounds like a good look. I didn't mean to like disparage the rebound look there for Sohan. I was more talking about my disdain for him as a player right now. Talking about what you were talking about, Mariano. I keep distracting myself though. Let's finish up with Luka. And talk about why the hell he's not getting dimes real quick. So I'm gonna start with courtside pal. I'm gonna look at assists and go to playmaker. And his type of playmaker doesn't get too many doesn't get too many assists against him. I'm sure he's gonna be scoring all over the place. Point guards and centers. Oh, shooter. Yeah, they defend his shooting pretty well. I'm not taking a Luka under, by the way, if that's what you're asking. But I guess I'm wondering why it is that his assists are so not consistently at 11 against this team. And I mean, it's a lot of assists, bro. So, I mean, what's up, chill dudes? Let's look at his potential assists lately real quick. Let's go to player tracking and go to passing. All on NBAstats.com. This is the last 15, whatever. I'm fine with that. Let's look at the Dallas Mavericks right quick. See what we got here. Potential assists. That's dumb. 17.5 potential assists, but that's still like needing 11 potential assists, 11 of your potential, to turn into actual assists of your 17. That still puts you at basically potential assists justice. Yeah, like it's pretty high in terms of percentage there. We're still at about 60%, 65% for him to get that. That's pretty high. I would actually lean Luka under assist before I went over. If that's crazy to you, I understand. If you look at the minutes that he's played against this team real quick, let's see if we go to the assists right here. We go to the minutes that he's played against them. Yeah, I mean, when he's averaging 37 and he's only played 33, and if you look at the minutes in the games this season, we're talking about 34, 31, 31, right? So about 32 minutes per game. Like, yeah, that makes sense because none of those games were close. Why would you be playing Luka too much at that point? This is not a back-to-back for them. This is the back-to-back, right? So that isn't quite as big of a deal. Let me look at their schedule real quick. This is one more thing that's really convenient for scheduling #basketball. I want to look at if they have any reason to completely look ahead of this game. They don't. They got another day off. Then they get to play Utah at home, where I got to imagine that's not even going to be damn close. What were you saying about Kyrie? I'm actually interested real quick. Yeah, that's what I was wondering. If he has been taking some of the assist usage, Brian Andrews brings up a good point that like maybe Kyrie been taking some of the assist usage last few games. I'm looking at that though. Like, I mean, 9.5 potential assists for Kyrie is not really stealing much from him, right? So I got last 15 here. Let's go last 5 and do it a little bit smaller sample size too. Potential assists. Yeah, okay, that makes more sense lately. That's a good look over the last 5. Kyrie eating into that a bit. 15 over his last 5. 8.5 assists per game for Luka, still playing the 34 minutes. So if you have those numbers for Luka, bro, is Luka under assists a good bet tonight? Did we just find a good Luka under assist bet? It's a great look by you, Brian Andrews, to be because I had my filter on the wrong last 5 games. I had it on last 15. That's gonna be a little bit different. Kyrie wasn't eating into it then. Now Kyrie is eating into it. Who they played the last 5? Dallas. Let's look at the last 15 games real quick. Last 15 games. This is StatMuse once again. Dallas last 15. If we look at last 5, Denver, OKC, Golden State, Chicago, Detroit. Pretty good. I mean, 2 really good defenses. A team that used to be good at defense in Chicago. They are not that anymore. And Golden State is just fluctuates. It was Golden State on the road, so they actually have been playing a little bit slower and better on the road, to be honest with you. How crazy is that? They're like, I think they're 10 games below 500 at home this season. It's wild. Damn. So earlier he was not taking assists from Luka. Did he? Yeah, I mean, shit, man. In the last 5 that we're talking about, Luka missing a couple games, Kyrie playing a game. So I mean, there was probably one in there where he was stealing some. But even this is a good look. I mean, I'm going with it. Like, call me crazy, bro. Yeah, the potential with the potential blowout and everything. I'm going under on Luka assists. I'm gonna get that bet in. Like, I did not think that this was gonna go. I was like, we're gonna look at Luka and we're gonna say either you feel like he's gonna go off and you're gonna take something, or you're not touching him. So to answer the question earlier about Luka triple double. I probably wouldn't have taken that before I found this, but I couldn't take it anyway with that blowout potential. Luka under 10.5 assists. What do we have that at right now? If we take the under, minus 115, they really want us to take the over, really. That's fine. Minus 115 for Luka. Do I have the stones to put a full unit on it? It doesn't sound like I do because I'm still in shock that I'm even betting this. So let's go 0.5 U for that, and I'll let you know if that changes for any reason. I have the everything, just so y'all know, subscribe to the page because you also get the video afterwards. You can check it out, and you can see that I will be exactly what I'm playing in the pinned comments of the video. So that'll have all the bets in there. But you can see, let me put that check mark next to Luka so it's obvious what's going on. I stayed away from Wemby, and we're riding with a Luka under. Let's go, squad. I doubt that very many live streams or cappers that you will talk to or follow are going to suggest that their followers or people in the live stream take a Luka Doncic under, because that sounds insane. But that's what we do here. I like the nasty shit. I kind of like just like getting into the muck and being like, yeah, okay, that's fun. We could take Luka overs, but or you could take Luka unders. Let's look at anything else from this game. I know there's a couple comments jumping in here. Yeah, the lower is definitely tempting. Yep. No Pool, too much poverty, blowout potential. The verdict on Pool was like, yeah, I passed on Pool. Honestly, the 21.5 points for Pool is kind of ripe for an over before anything. Because if I was going to take Jordan Poole, I'd be looking at the volume of shots. He just took 19 shots against Boston in 23 minutes. So you could not have me get an under on Jordan Poole. But yeah, I think it's on the I passed, but points is the play, is what I said right there for Jordan Poole and the graphic at the bottom. There's nothing else I really want to look at from this game. Let me get into let's look at that Brooklyn game real quick. I do want to look at Franz, but the reason I want to look at those points for Zion is kind of what I was looking at. Let's first of all, is the assist still at 5.5? It's juiced all the way down, right? So yeah, if you want to take like under 4.5 assists for Zion, you could get really good money, but that's tempting the gods there. I don't know if I need to mess with that. If you do want to take it, minus 133, it might be a good price for under 5.5 assists for Zion. I mean, if you look at him, has gone under this. He had 5 against them last game, and that actually was a blowout. That's why I stayed away from the assists. At the end of the day, this 5 assists right here against them scared the crap out of me. And then you put in the fact that like they didn't even need to come close in that game. That was a blowout that they just didn't even play much anymore. So yeah, I think that could happen again here. That's why I'm a little bit scared of taking Zion under in the assist when he did it so easily last game. Yeah, appreciate you, NBA. Definitely getting that subscribe if you could. It's super helpful. Got to keep doing this. Got to feed the kids and all that. Let's look at that Brooklyn game. I'm off the assist, but the points for Zion is what we're going to look at too. It did go up. Yeah, you can't get any 22.5s. 23.5 is even money to the over on Caesar. They want you to take that, huh? But that probably came up from 22.5 pretty recently. If y'all have Caesar, what I'm looking at here is kind of what I brought up in that first graphic that I gave to you guys a minute ago, where I was talking about why with Zion. If you look at the way that this team gives up points, right, for the Nets, they are just, I mean, they're all right around the rim. Terrible in terms of defending the ISO bottom 2 defense. They're not going to double. If they don't double Zion, then they're like to get smashed, right? And Zion is far and away taking the most shots in the isolation for his team. So he's going to be in that ISO more than anybody, even more, twice as much as Brandon Ingram. That really surprised me that he's doing it that much more than Brandon Ingram. If you look at the way that this Brooklyn team is against a player like him too, the points could be there for him. Let me bring back the screen back up right quick and show you the stuff for Zion. If you look at, more importantly, on courtside Powell, we'll look at Zion versus this Brooklyn squad. Like, I don't think Nick Claxton's going to have the mass to go ahead and hang with our boy Zion. Points for Zion against Brooklyn, if you look at his scoring, they're pretty good against his scoring profile, against his shot profile, also pretty good. Yeah, I guess it's because they've been good around the rim, and that's everywhere that he shoots from. But like, if he's putting the ISO on the foul line, that's why I still I would like the points for him. But at the end of the day, I took the rebounds. It is down to 6.5. Good shout by whoever caught that. I got it for over 7.5 at plus money, so it's not that far off. Like, if you take over 6.5 for minus 112, and I got over 7.5 for plus 118 or whatever I got it at, I'm still okay with that. You know what I mean? So I'm probably off the Zion points because I already got enough Zion exposure with the rebounds right here. But we had somebody talk about Schroeder assists against this team. And I was looking at assists and ways to fade it because that Brooklyn defense doesn't give up assists. But if you look at the way that, look, Schroeder's been diming up. He only needs the 6.5. He needs 7 to get the plus money there. And the problem is like fighting between the fact that this squad plays in ISO so much. If you look at the Brooklyn Nets, you go to play type. they play isolation ball a lot because they have ISO players and they also have no offense. And so that's why they're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th most possessions per game. The frequency with which they do it, 7th or 8th right there. The points per possession for this Brooklyn team, not so good. This is why they suck. Basically, in a nutshell, if they don't make their shots in the ISO, then they don't score. And obviously, if you don't score, you don't win. You got to score more points than the other team. They still are in the top like 10 in terms of points per game, but that's because they take all their damn shots from the ISO, right? If we look at the defense for the the pace, we're talking about the Pelicans right now. If you talk about them versus the ISO, teams are not doing that quite as much against them. The frequency is like bottom of the league, I believe. For New Orleans, yeah, they're going to be in the top 10 in terms of limiting the amount of times they even run ISO. And then the points per possession for them, pretty good D. I mean, they've been nice on D for most of this season, bro. So like, don't sleep on the Pellies. They've had some doo-doo competition, but they also, I mean, I think they have a pretty hard schedule the rest of the way. But either way, yeah, the ISO stuff for them, like, I mean, I would lean under for a guy like Mikal Bridges points or even Cam Thomas. I think some people were talking about Cam Thomas tonight. I know somebody, Modi, our boy, who I definitely trust. I mean, this is a plus money bet for him to hit 3 threes. I get that. I would take the threes for Cam before I would take the points for sure. Only a few of them the last bunch of games, though. He needs to get 3 of 6, 3 of 7, according to how he's been shooting for the last 4 or so. And this is the #1 3-point defense in the league for this Pelly squad. I think I'm looking at a Cam Thomas under points, bro. And that might sound crazy because he's a microwave when he wants to be. But if I can get under 21.5 for Cam, it's not a good matchup for him, fam. Like, I think I'm starting to lean on the Cam Thomas unders for good measure. Like I said, they're good in the ISO. If you want to look at what Cam Thomas does real quick, now I'm on the Cam Thomas bit for real. If we look at what Cam Thomas does and we go to players play type, let's look at, I mean, he's going to be an ISO, right? Like if we just go to team, well, let's look at frequency real quick, just for the whole league. Where's our Brooklyn boys at? Oh, Dinwiddie, no longer on the squad, was doing it more frequently with his minutes on the floor. There's Cam Thomas. He's going to be in the top 20. You're going to have Mikal somewhere slightly further down on this list. But they haven't been using Mikal as much. Honestly, Mikal is, he is right there. That was Miles. Never mind. That was Miles. Either way, yeah, for Cam Thomas, who we actually care about in this game, let's look at the team stuff and look at BKN. And you look at the possessions per game. Cam's in scoring a majority of his points off of that. They don't even run that pick and roll, do they? Very much. Let's look at the team stuff for them to see if Cam's doing that as well. Or the player stuff, rather. Let's look at team Brooklyn, see if we're getting anything from Cam Thomas in the way of pick and roll ball handler. Yeah, he is. They are giving him some pick and rolls at the top, but Schroeder came in and took that from him, right? Look at like Schroeder's only played the 17 games. Way more frequently that he's doing that, and probably getting some dimes off of that as well, I would imagine, for Dennis Schroeder. That's what he's doing. If you look at pick and roll ball handler stuff real quick in terms of defense, let's go to the actually just get a different one up real quick. Let's look at team defense versus pick and roll ball handler. And we look at how New Orleans does. They don't even get put into the pick and roll very often. Least frequency and least amount of possessions overall, giving up the 4th, 5th most, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th least points per possession, which has got to be least in the game in the league. So pick and roll ball handler, I think I'm on that. I think I'm on the under. Yeah, I'm looking at the Cam Thomas under 21.5. I gotta like that. I mean, for the minutes, real quick, what kind of minutes we project for him. That's something I want to make sure I always know, is like, how many minutes do I think dude is going to get? It's hard sometimes to guess that, especially with these rotations. But we look at shooter profile versus New Orleans. Yeah, I mean, the scoring profile, he might get there. That would be if he shoots a lot of above the break stuff. Is that where they're bad? Let me see real quick for this New Orleans team. Are they bad above the break on D? I'm pretty sure the answer is no, because they're the best 3-point defense in the league. Let me make sure I'm not talking out of turn too. When I say best 3-point defense in the league, I mean, like, what is their opponent 3-pointers made? Okay, 7th best 3-point percentage. They're going to be number 1 in terms of 3-point percentage, right? So yeah, they're giving up, and teams are taking them, but they're not making them. Actually, they're actually giving up the 2nd fewest and the 7th fewest makes, and they have the best defensive 3-point percentage. Let's look at the spot on the floor. We're going to go to opponent shooting. I'm going to look at by zone so I can see exactly above the break stuff. On the season, above the break threes, they're giving up the 3rd most attempts from above the break. That is where they're weakest, it appears. And that field goal percentage actually is still the best defensively. So they have the best defensive field goal percentage above the break because teams are taking so damn many of them against them. So I still like Cam to go under. Yeah, I got to go with it. Cam for the points real quick. If you look at the last 10, I know he's gone over versus San Antonio, versus Indiana, Orlando, bad above the break, Cleveland, and Charlotte. The minutes, come on, man. My bad with these fat fingers. I got on this Cam Thomas hype, but I think this is a bet that we got to play. Like, let me know what y'all think real quick, if that's crazy or not. Sam Marshall, let me look at the Wagner stuff too for sure. NPR here, you're talking about, Leo Garcia real quick. Yeah, Kuminga was nasty stuff last night. NPR hero, any good over or under for sure team total? What's the deal, my guy? What's good? So I would say the team total for Orlando is still something I played last night. If you're going to talk about that Houston game, it's hard for me to see Houston not getting over their team total. If this total is at 226.5 and they got bet down, we're talking about a Rockets team, they might slow it down, but it's Jordan Poole. Jordan Poole's not going to slow shit down. With the Rockets team total, we're probably looking at what, if you put them at like 114.5 and then they win by 10. Yeah, so it's probably about 115.5 is their team total. Maybe even 116. That's kind of high. 116.5. No, yeah, 115.5 to 106.5 would make sense. So that's decent. That's still kind of high, but they've been scoring that. Let me interrupt myself real quick. Houston Rockets last 5 games. I know, but this is on the road too. Yeah, their last 5 on the road. I mean, yeah, they do not score on the road. I'm not feeling that as much. They have been doo-doo on the road, but as far as that goes, yeah, I'm like that. Yeah, Daryl Bethel, I feel that. Let's look at let me just put that in here because I'm riding with Cam under. What's the best number I said? Minus 115 for Cam Thomas under till my fat fingers hit the keyboard incorrectly. We got Cam. Where you at, Cam? Points. Like, I want to know what these. I got to talk to somebody from props.cash. They project their own numbers as well. They have Cam Thomas scoring 3.5 more points than his prop total right now is what they have. I would love to know what that is based on and what their projections are spitting out. Maybe we'll hit them up and get to that. But like even their D versus position says that he's got the 4th lowest. Cam under is not plus money unless you take the 20.5. And even that isn't plus money. So you can still get minus 120 for him to go under 21.5. I feel like people are taking his overs, and I got a zag on that. I got a minus 106 up here, but this is just wrong. Let me look at one more thing real quick. This is the prop finder tool for the lines.com. I do think it's like really simple and easy. So I just come in here and type in Cam Thomas. I'm gonna see what the under. Yeah, I mean, this is saying. Let me just go right to the books. This is where shit just gets complicated. Unless somebody who just randomly got listed as out for that team, I don't think that's what's happened. But let me look at what we have Cam for player points on FanDuel. Okay, so yeah, you can get minus 106 there. This looks like I shouldn't have trashed my prop finder tool. It was correct. Apologies, prop finder tool. Keep doing you. Minus 105 on Rivers, MGM, minus 106 on FanDuel, minus 120 on Caesars. And I don't know what the thing is on DraftKings yet, but it's probably not as good. Yeah, I mean, Brooklyn has no reason to tank. I just don't know that they'll have a choice. You know what I mean? Free sauce. Like I have such little respect for Brooklyn right now. And that's with my boy Kevin Ollie, man. I shout out UConn, but I don't know that he's actually a better NBA coach than he is college coach. He was terrible. But yeah, let me get that Cam under real quick. Let me add that to our banner here, and you can see what the upcoming plays are. I did tell you I'm passing on the Zion points. And by the way, we made like 3.5, 4 units yesterday. So like, I'm not exactly trying to just give it back. That's partly why you see me being a little bit more like frugal today, if you will. But yeah, I'm adding this Cam Thomas one. Cam Thomas under 20. Yeah, we got to take 20.5 was the best number, minus 105. I'm going to put it on MGM if I can. If not, then I'll put it on FD. Whenever I put out the books and everything that I put next to it, it is usually the best price, but it's also what I have to take it at because I don't have access to certain books. I only have access to ones I have access to. So I'm going to take Cam Thomas and put the under 20.5 points. I'm going to put 5.5 unit on that as well. Let's keep it kosher here. You know what I mean? All right, so we got Cam added to that, and I have a couple other things I know you guys were talking about that you wanted to look at, so let me make sure I didn't miss anything. Yeah, Cam's the only who can play ISO or the best one at least, but that ISO defense for the Pellies is good. So that's what I'm at. But yeah, no need to tail all these, bro. Like these are the ones I'm playing. And even if I pass on a bet, like hopefully you didn't listen to my dumbass and you picked Josh Hart yesterday because that's a good bet. What up, Joe? I see you out there. How about a cup of Joe? That's my guy. Let me look at the bet that he just talked about because I want to talk about that for me too, which is Franz over. And it's just a feeling like it sucks when I'm just like there's stuff I bet I don't talk about because I don't have as good a reasoning at times. But when I feel it, like I feel it. And with Franz, I feel it. So that's kind of my starting point. 19.5 on MGM, 18.5 everywhere else, -115 on FanDuel for the over 18.5 for Franz. Look at, I mean, this doo-doo game is at 202.5. So like it's kind of some sicko stuff to be betting this game at all, to be honest with you. And just to remind you, I took Micic over 12.5 points like a sicko. So whatever you want to do with that, but I took it for half a unit. Did I get any value on that? Did Micic go up at all? Or do I just look the fool real quick? Where you at, Micic? Nope, he went down. I do look the fool. No, you can still get 12.5 for even money, it looks like. But you can also get 11.5 on FanDuel. They came out with that at 11.5. So it's basically the same bet. Like I took the 12.5. 11.5 was what I wanted. And it might be good to buy back into it at 11.5 as almost a hedge on my 12.5. Not even a hedge, but just a little bit of insurance on my 12.5 bet. But I have half a unit on him as well. So do with that what you will. For Micic, it's all about what I put up in the banner real quick. And then I promise I'll get into this for the other bet I'm talking about here. But for Micic, it's basically just weakest ball. The weakest spot for this Orlando defense is that they're not good versus the pick and roll ball handler. And Charlotte, by the way, most pick and roll plays per game in the league right now. That is the only thing that they do anymore, and it's because they have 2 point guards. Really, I mean, Trey Mann plays really well off ball, and he will play off ball. I believe he was added to the injury report too, so there is a possibility that he doesn't play. Everybody who wants to jump in the comments, let me know if I'm wrong. Let me know. But for where did I see Trey Mann at? Trey Mann on the injury report right here, listed available to play. So he's playing, but I'm still good with the Micic points because you see what I'm talking about here. In his last 9, Trey Mann's played in a bunch of those games. So I'm still not worried about Trey Mann taking time away from our guy here in terms of Micic. So I put a half a unit on the over 12.5 for him to get 13. He's been having some nice nights here as of late and taking a lot of shots. So that's what we feel good about. Let me also just roll through these while I got you guys here. This one's a little dead. If you want to take -9.5 still for Houston at Washington, I feel it. I'm still good with that, honestly. I do not know who's going to score outside of Kispert and Poole for this squad. Watch Rashawn Holmes put up like 18 and 12. I can't see it, but whatever. The other one was that Magic team total. I think you can still get that at 107.5 if you want to take the over for Magic to score at home, which is what they do when they're at home. So that's why I felt good about this one. Gafford, you have to take it over 18.5 points and rebounds. But he's going up against a team that has not stopped a center from scoring their points prop since, I mean, maybe a bunch of us have been alive. So that's why we feel good about San Antonio. Keep giving it up to the roll man. The only reason that Gafford didn't go over last time, and this is a little bit of like a, F you, I'm coming back here to get mine because Gafford should have gotten over for us a couple of nights ago and he didn't. And now it's the same situation with a team that's actually worse against centers than obviously the Nuggets were. And he's coming back with, if he doesn't get fouls, he plays a lot more than he did. We might see Derek Lively in only because of the blowout factor, but like to get to the blowout factor, I'm taking Daniel Gafford to get his points, and I added the rebounds to it. And then, like I said, with Micic, we took the points, and with Zion, I took the rebounds with Zion, and I passed on the Zion points, as you can see at the bottom there with the hand up, telling you I passed on Zion to get his points. I don't trust the flow of this game. I don't know why this would not be another blowout. The only thing that keeps it close is Milwaukee hits a ton of jump shots, right? But if Milwaukee does not hit a ton of jump shots, which I don't expect them to do because this is their 3rd game in 4 nights, and all they do is shoot jump shots, and they've been missing them lately. And this is the best defensive team in terms of limiting 3-pointers and other types of jump shots, right? Is the Pellies. So if the strength of their defense is going to be the only thing that the Brooklyn Nets can do, then I'm expecting there to be a good amount of rebounds. Even if Zion has to get pulled away from the basket, let's say he's guarding Cam Johnson, he's guarding Dorian Finney-Smith, and they want to stand on the 3-point line. Well, the average distance, and this is something that I do think is helpful. Let me show y'all what I'm talking about real quick, because I think this is incredibly helpful to show you, which is if you look at the distance of a rebound. So real quick, I'm going to look at players, and I'm going to look at tracking, and I'm going to go to rebounding. This is all on NBA stats page. For those of y'all who are new, NBA stats page is what we use a lot here. It's something I pull through to a model as well, and we'll get that model to you, I promise, as soon as I can, which is not yet. player tracking rebounding, and I'm going to go to Pellies to look at Zion, some stuff with him real quick that I want to show you, which is the average distance of the rebound. I think that's hella relevant, if you will. So if you look at the average rebound distance, right? You're usually almost always gonna see guards and dudes guarding at the top of the key who have a longer distance, right, of their rebound. Not 10 feet away from the basket is the foul line. So Herb Jones is averaging most of his rebounds coming from the foul line, right? And some of them a little bit further and some of them a little bit closer. But on average, the distance is 10 feet away, which is a foul shot. Jose Alvarado, same concept. Jordan Hawkins, blah, blah, blah. Even Brandon Ingram's out there. Zion's still at like 6.2, right? And he's a dude who you talk about playing close to the basket. But at the same time, like he's not playing center. And he's playing like a weird version of power forward, let's say. So like his average rebound distance is still far enough away from the basket that like if it's a slightly long miss, he's still going to be in contention for the rebound. That's why a big reason why I'm not like worried about these 3-point shots and overly long rebounds or anything like that. But average rebound distance can be super helpful to help you understand, like if a team is shooting a ton of threes, then people who stand further away from the basket likely to get more rebounds. Not an exact science, just something that you can use to once again add to your numbers when you're trying to project your own stuff here. So that's what we like. I still am good with the Zion rebounds. Let me get back to a few more of the comments because I know these games are going to tip in a minute, and I want to look at what we got here. So finishing it. Was there anybody I missed? Yeah, Cam Thomas. Let me get that green check mark on you, Cam, and then get another one up here because I am taking the Cam under. And I know some people smarter than me. I mean, they're smart. I don't know if they're smarter than me, but they're smart who are taking the over for Cam Thomas, both on points and 3-point attempts and the 3-point makes rather. And the 3-point stuff for Cam is just like a little bit nerve wracking. All right. I remember what I was doing. I was doing Franz. I apologize. Look at the fucking tangent we go on here. Franz Wagner. Field goal attempts. The last 2 games is Toronto that he's played, right? Oh, that's right. They had the home, whatever. But the Toronto games were the ones where he turned it around. Let's put Franz in here real quick and see how he does against this Charlotte Hornets team. It's so weird to actually see like when a team is that bad, what do they do well, what do they not do well? But as far as limiting him, not going to be too good at it. 11th and 11th in his shooter and scorer type. Let me look at Paolo, see if there's any difference. These two dudes score in such a similar fashion. It's tough to like find an edge between them for why one will go off more likely than the other. If you look at points for Paolo, basically the same thing. That's what I'm saying, right? It's like it's so tough to find the difference between who you think is going to go off between these two dudes. Like they do the same thing, whether it's Paolo comes off the pick and roll as the ball handler a little bit more. I don't know if that matters as much. I mean, I'm usually going with Paolo, but for Franz right now, it's a little bit of this, like, I like to fade those who have been shooting poorly. And I don't always love to just ride with a dude who's shooting 48, 50% from 3, let's say, or whatever ridiculous shit. Like, I don't love to have to follow that because that means it's going to regress back down to the mean. But when you talk about a dude who's been shooting poorly, it means it's going to regress back up at some point. If he's a 40% shooter from deep, he's not shooting 40% every game. He's shooting 60% some games. He's shooting 20% other games, right? And he's meeting somewhere in the middle. But if he's been shooting really bad, then that means it's got to regress back upwards towards 40%. So I get off my soapbox and just see what he's been doing lately. The last 2 games where he went over, he only needed 9 shots to get his points against Toronto. He took 13 against them in the second game. And both of them were not really close. So it's not like it's a big deal in terms of the blowout that might happen here with Charlotte. 3-point attempts is not there for him. Both these dudes just get everything going to the rim, right? That's why they're actually so good against Charlotte, who does not have anybody against the rim. 21.5 points for Paolo. For decent juice right here is the same concept as to me as the like 18.5 night. It's not that much different, obviously only three-ish points. Paolo going over lately pretty consistently. I mean, just to show y'all what they do, like it's once again, it's the same thing. That's why I like rarely put a bet down on either of these dudes because they both just eat into what the other one does so well. If we go to play type and we look at, I believe they're both driving a ton, which is actually tracking. So if we look at drives for them, we go to, let's look at the last, I mean, it doesn't even matter. Let's just look at the season for Orlando in terms of driving to the hoop. That's what these dudes do. A ton of drives per game, 12.7, 12.1, right? Like it's not much there for me. Where they're shooting their shots is going to be the same concept. Let me go over here to shooting real quick for players and look at the Orlando Magic by zone. This is really helpful for those of y'all who are a little bit newer. make sure that you know where dudes shoot from and how good the other team is at defending where they shoot from, not just like this dude versus this position, this defense versus this position, et cetera, right? If you look at restricted area, Franz actually is at the rim a bit more than Paolo. Paolo pulls up a little bit more from the mid range and from like right inside the paint, but not down right next to the basket. If you look at corner three, above the break rather, Paolo, and yeah, like it's the same stuff for these dudes, right? It's really, there's not much to differentiate them to like get a strong edge. I like I said, Paolo does take the lead when it comes to pick and roll ball handler. If we look at offensive players and we filter this to just Orlando, we look at the possessions. Yeah, I mean, Franz is going to be, Paolo's in that a bit more. Let me look at obviously team opponent shooting. Let's look at the Hornets. Let's look at the last like 10 for the Hornets because they've been a different team. Like every 10 games, they're a different team with who they run out there. But the restricted area down low for Charlotte, they've gotten a little bit better, I'm pretty sure, but they're still pretty bad, right? In terms of giving up attempts, makes down low for Charlotte. Yeah, they're still awful. So that's, I mean, it's not going to be much different here. Yeah, honestly, for this one, for Franz and Paolo, like I don't have quite as much for. I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna pass on Franz. Otherwise, I feel like I probably would have hit it already. The only thing I have for you is like a feeling, a hope and a feeling for Franz to hit his. Nothing that like makes me go, this stands out way differently. I do know my guy Ev from Boston Guy Sports was on Cole Anthony, and I think part of his reasoning was it's a low point prop for Cole in what he expects to be a blowout. My thing with Cole is like, I can never rely on minutes when I know Markelle Fultz is playing and I know Jalen Suggs is also playing and I know Gary Harris is playing. And my bad, I think he meant Gary Harris actually for the points. And Gary Harris would be a better bet than Cole in my opinion because he'll be out there for the defense. But I'm not on that any of that stuff. Let's get to one more thing and then we can roll because I know I missed a couple people. Yeah, Leo Garcia. Let me make that clear too. We have college hoops all over the site right now. My guy Burt Oaks is the one leading all the college hoop stuff. He has been crushing it. He nailed all those conference tournaments, and he's been crushing UEFA Champions League. So if you guys bet soccer, which is stupid fun, I highly recommend it. Even if you don't like soccer, but you want to get into it, highly recommend looking at some of the stuff that Oaks has put out. He's hit some 10-1s for us, some 7-1s, and all that good stuff. So let's see. Yeah, JDex Squirrel. That's me for real. Good shout. Whenever you guys see me going crazy with the ADD and I get off topic, just get me back on track here. For Franz and Powell, yeah, the possible matchup. That's a great call, full court. All right, that's my comment of the day for full court right there. He's like, what about the matchups or possible matchups for this team? Let's see real quick if we can get anything from that, because that would be like who might have an easier matchup in this game is a good way to try to differentiate between these two dudes. Look at this, people helping people, bro. I appreciate you. Let's go to Orlando, where y'all at, or let's just go to Charlotte then, so we can just go to the game logs. Just go to box scores, doesn't matter. And then did they play them recently? Let's just go to this most recent one real quick. And we look at Orlando versus them. Let's go to box score. Please have matchup data. Nice. Okay. So sometimes you won't get matchup data. If that happens, it's because they didn't track the player tracking stuff that game, which I still don't fully understand why, but that's what it is. Franz Wagner versus team last game got Brandon Miller. He went 3 for 6 against B Miller and scored 6 points. Trey Mann is definitely too small to guard him. Nick Richards is going to be too slow to guard him, but he ended with 2, 4, 6, 12 points in that game. Who did Paolo get guarded by? Probably Miles. Yeah, obviously Miles, who's going to be better. And then whenever Miles was not on him, he probably barbecue chickened everybody except for whatever. Just missed some shots against Trey. So we're talking about 17, 19, 24, 26, 28 that he had in this one. Yeah, I forget he went clean off in that one. Miles Bridges is a better defender than is Brandon Miller. I mean, no shade to Brandon Miller, but Miles Bridges should be a better defender at this point in his career than the Rook. So not sure that gives me as much confidence. Powell only had 22. I must have miscounted that. Powell only had 22. Yeah, it's going to be a low-scoring game. I'm off both their props just because of that, but that's a good look is like matchup data when you look at like these dudes, who they are actually guarded against. That's a very, very good point that I should be saying a lot more often, which is like team ranks versus player type is very helpful. Team defense versus position can be helpful for sure. The thing is like the whole team is not guarding one player. They should be. They should have, 5-man, look, 10 eyes on the ball, blah, 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 whatever your high school coach used to say to you. but they don't, right? Like they're worried. Like if I'm guarding Paolo Banchero, I don't really give a shit what Markel Fultz is doing. I know I need to know where he is on the floor, but I'm just guarding Paolo Banchero. That said, like, so then how am I guarding Paolo Banchero? And going into the matchup stuff is a really good way to find that out. But I don't really love the stuff with the matchups there, because both those dudes, in terms of Brandon Miller and Miles Bridges, are good defenders, but not good enough to necessarily warrant like an under for either of these dudes, especially the way they take the bulk of the shots. Jokic, in terms of the over, I don't have much for Jokic because I think that how much he cares comes into play. I know he loves smacking Rudy around. I do know that. Let's look at that Denver and Minnesota game before we dip here real quick. Rich asks, which Bridges are you talking about? Do you like the over for Miles or for McHale? Because a lot of people like the under for McHale, but let me know what you think about the Bridges one. Ingram PRA, I could see. I thought Ingram would be in the ISO a lot more, but the fact that this squad can, the Brooklyn squad can switch with a ton of their defenders against BI is something that scares me a little bit. I'll take a look at that real quick. Being a Hornets fan, Miles Ball watches a lot. Yeah, Ball watches a lot. That's fair. If you think that that's a reason that Paolo might get points tonight because you think Miles Ball watches a lot and doesn't actually defend his dude the way I was just saying, I could see that. In terms of Brandon Miller, we got one franchise asking about Brandon Miller over 3.5 boards, a good play or not. It's tough to, I mean, he's gone over a bunch, right, in that series. And I promise that I'll close out here with the Denver and Minnesota game. But as far as where are you at? Brandon Miller's all the way down here. For the rebounds, like, yeah, it's tough for 4 rebounds against a really good rebounding team that's not going to give it up. He's around the 3-point line a ton. Did he get bored? Yeah, he got 5 boards against him last game. Looks like he's done it both times against him in his career at this point. I don't know why that would be. I mean, Franz is a plenty good rebounder if that's the matchup back on the other side, which it could very well be. Let's look at Brandon Miller right quick. If we go to matchups in that same box score and we look at Brandon Miller from this last game on offense, he was being guarded by Franz, and he was guarding Franz. So, like, yeah, considering Franz is down low a lot, he might have to chase him down low. But once you chase a dude down low on a drive, you're not as available for a rebound because you're still playing defense on him. So I'm not necessarily feeling a Brandon Miller over on the boards right there. I'll quickly look at his recent numbers in terms of tracking and his rebounding. So player tracking, rebounding data for B Miller, and then I'm off it. I promise. All season segments. Let me look at let's look at 7. It's super arbitrary. It's no good reason for it right now, but let me just even see if there's anything there. Brandon Miller at 10 rebound chances, getting 4 boards, right? Like a pretty good contested rebound number, but he's getting a ton of, his rebound chance percentage is not great at 41.7%, right? I don't have a strong pull on that one either way, to be honest with you. I'm gonna get off that real quick so we can just close out with this Denver game, which is still later tonight, but only 5 games on the slate. Quick reminder to subscribe to the page if y'all would, and give this video a like. Super helpful, much appreciated. And hopefully you're getting something out of it too. We're talking about Jokic points. Like this is a fluctuating number right here. 26.5 is high. Minus 104, minus 105. You can get 25.5, it looks like, on these other books for him to go over 25.5. Head-to-head in the regular season, 1 game this season. They played in the playoffs last year, and he kind of just like did what he wanted when he wanted. For the assists, only 3 of them in the last game. His assists have been getting eaten into big time. I don't have the nuts to take an under on his assists, but if you were going to do it, one thing about Joker that does kind of hold true is Jokic stats at home and versus on road this season. This might even be true over the last like 5 seasons. But at home, we're talking about 1 fewer point and 1 more assist. On the road, 1 more point, 1 fewer assist. So I would lean to the over of points before I would lean to the over with the assists. But I don't have because Joker is not somebody that you don't put him in a box. You don't tell me Joker is a center, so he doesn't compare to other centers, and he doesn't compare to anybody in the league. There's nobody that's 7 feet tall and damn near 300 pounds that can do what he does. I think he's down to like 265. Good for our guy. But for points, I mean, Minnesota is not going to give it up to Joker anybody. Like that's not where they give up points. They've been a little bit worse. But like this data doesn't really help me because I already know that they're really good at stopping anybody who's big, right? Like if you look at his size alone And the weight is actually something they're not good at guarding. This is weight and mass. So, like, if you are a heavy dude, but not necessarily just a tall dude, then apparently they struggle with you a bit more. I guess Rudy Gobert needs to get in the gym. But as far as scoring goes, like, let's look at assist playmaker stuff. Still, they don't give up dimes, bro. Like, they're still going to be in the top 10 in defense when it comes to limiting everything that Joker wants to do from wherever he wants to do it on the floor. But it's Joker. And if he wants to get his, then he's gonna get his. It's just that simple. If you look at this, the points given up to centers by this team, they're in the top 6, 7. Rebounds, they're probably 3, third best. Assists, doesn't matter because centers and assist data doesn't matter to me. It's not a lot of centers with potential assists like Jokic, so that doesn't matter. So that's kind of where I'm at. Like, I would have to take an over for Jokic before I ever took an under, but that would be such a newbie cheesy play that I don't have like the best reasoning for, that I'm not going to feel comfortable just shelling that bet out, right? As far as the rebounds go, even that is something that's like, it's tough. Like, it's not something he does all the time. If you think there's going to be a lot of missed shots in this game and it's going to go a bit under, then that makes some sense. But let me see what teams are these? Nuggets versus Timberwolves let's just do last 5 games. Last 5. Let's do last 4 regular season games. So in the regular season, we got only one matchup this year, right? And it was a nice win by Minnesota and a low-scoring game that did not reach 200 points. And all these other games are also, well, this was a smackdown from the Nuggets. I'm assuming not many people played in this for Minnesota, but yeah, no, they did. It was a different team at the time, too. No, you see D'Angelo Russell on that squad last year. So it's not much to be gained from this, right? Like, this is the only one they played this season. It was pretty much a blowout too, with Minnesota at home. Actually, that's surprising because Denver has not been great on the road, and Minnesota has been really, really, really good at home. So for Denver to, it's just not enough for me to glean anything from it. Like, I don't actually have a strong take on the side for this game either. So I wish I had more for this game, but honestly, I don't. If we, like, Mike Conley has a low point total. He loves playing against Denver ever since he was in Utah and obviously the playoffs last year. So, like, there could be something there, but that's still just a little bit of a feel. Honestly, I don't have much else. I think it's a good spot to sign off with y'all. We'll be back tomorrow. Definitely want to hit that subscribe button. I'm going to keep getting a few more graphics like I was showing you guys earlier. I want to show you what I'm looking at when I start these bets and all that kind of stuff. But jump in if you do have any more questions. Jump in the comments of the live stream video. Hit me on Twitter as well at JL Boogie. Let me put that back up for you guys real quick, so you can see where I'm at if you want to come find me and subscribe to that page like I would. But at Land Your Bets, Instagram, I'm going to get some more stuff up there, I promise. Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it here. And then also on TikTok, I'll be putting out these videos a little bit more short form, best bets of the day, that kind of stuff. But most of the stuff you can get here. So I appreciate y'all tagging along. Continue to do so. Good luck tonight, and I'll see y'all tomorrow.